When's the last time you sat in silence? No phone, no screen, no background noise for more than 5 minutes. Not meditating, just sitting. If you're struggling to remember, you need to watch this. We talk about phone addiction like it's a personality flaw, like some people just have bad self-control and others don't. But that's completely wrong. What's actually happening inside your brain when you can't put your phone down, it's a psychological process that scientists now compare to the same mechanisms behind gambling and substance dependency. In this video, I'm going to break it down in 3 parts. First, how your phone was engineered to create addiction, not by accident, on purpose. Second, what chronic smartphone use is actually doing to your brain, your memory, and your ability to focus. And third, the real psychological reason you keep scrolling and why it's almost never about boredom. At the end of this, you won't just understand the problem, you'll understand yourself a lot better. Let's get into it. Let's start with the word everyone throws around but almost nobody explains properly. Dopamine. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. That's a myth. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It's the chemical your brain releases when it thinks a reward might be coming. The key word there is might. Think about a slot machine. You don't know if you're going to win, and that uncertainty, that's exactly what makes it addictive. Psychologists call it a variable reward schedule, and your phone runs on the exact same system. Every time you open Instagram, you don't know what you're going to see. Maybe something amazing, maybe something boring. But that uncertainty, that tiny hit of what's going to be there, triggers a dopamine spike before you've even seen anything. Likes, comments, new messages, they're all unpredictable. They're all intermittent, and your brain has been conditioned to chase them. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. The companies building these apps know this. Former Google design ethicist Tristan Harris said it directly. A handful of people working at a handful of tech companies are shaping how 1 billion people spend their attention. Your addiction isn't accidental, it's a product feature. Now let's talk about what chronic use does, because this is where it gets serious. A 2026 study found that excessive social media use was associated with impaired attention, reduced working memory, and diminished executive functioning, especially in younger users. Let me translate that into plain English. You're getting worse at focusing, you're getting worse at remembering things, and you're getting worse at making decisions. Here's one data point that stopped me cold. Receiving a single smartphone notification, even if you don't check it, disrupts your cognitive focus for approximately 7 seconds. 7 seconds sounds small, but if you're getting 50, 70, 100 notifications a day, that's minutes of lost deep work every single day. And it gets deeper than that. There's a concept in neuroscience called cognitive offloading. It's the idea that when your brain knows it can outsource a task, like remembering directions or looking something up, it stops building the internal capacity for it. Why memorize a phone number when your phone stores it? Why build a mental map when GPS exists? The problem is, you're not just offloading information, you're offloading the habit of thinking. And some researchers are now calling the result something alarming: digital dementia. Brain scans of heavy screen users, particularly adolescents, are showing patterns of cognitive decline that were previously associated with much older populations. Your phone isn't just stealing your time, it's remodeling your brain.
Okay, so here's the part that most videos skip. And honestly, it's the most important part. If you think you reach for your phone because you're bored, you're only half right. Research on smartphone addiction consistently finds that the strongest predictors aren't just habits or app design, they're emotional fragility, anxiety, and difficulty regulating negative emotions. In other words, you're not scrolling because there's nothing else to do. You're scrolling because your phone is the fastest, easiest way to escape a feeling you don't want to sit with. Stress at work? Scroll. Awkward silence? Scroll. That low-level hum of anxiety you can't quite name? Scroll. Your phone has become the world's most accessible emotional painkiller. And like any painkiller, it doesn't fix anything. It just delays the discomfort. and over time, your tolerance builds. You need more to get the same relief. There's also something called attachment anxiety at play. People with higher attachment anxiety, a subconscious fear of being disconnected from others, of missing out, of being forgotten, show significantly higher rates of compulsive phone checking. It's not laziness, it's not a lack of discipline. For a lot of people, the phone is filling a psychological gap, the need for connection, validation, or just a break from an internal state that feels too uncomfortable to face. And that's a really important reframe, because the moment you understand why you reach for it, that's the moment you actually have a chance to change it. Here's the thing. Most advice about phone addiction is surface level. Delete the apps, use grayscale mode, put your phone in another room. Those things help, but they're treating the symptom. The psychological research is clear. If you want to break a compulsive behavior, you need 3 things. 1. Awareness without judgment. Before you reach for your phone, just pause for 2-3 seconds and ask, what am I trying to avoid right now? You don't have to have an answer. Just asking the question starts to interrupt the automatic loop. 2. Replace the emotion, not just the action. If your phone is an emotional regulator, you need something to replace the regulation, not just fill the time. That could be a short walk, a breathing reset, or even just writing down what you're feeling. Anything that helps you process the emotion rather than escape it. 3. Redesign your environment. The most important thing is to make the automatic behavior harder to do. Phone chargers in a different room at night, notifications off by default, not by exception. Out of sight genuinely means out of mind, because your brain stops anticipating the variable reward when the cue disappears. You're not fighting your willpower, you're engineering your environment so willpower doesn't have to show up every 5 minutes and lose. Here's the final thought I want to leave you with. Smartphone addiction isn't a character flaw. It's not proof that you're weak or lazy or lack discipline. It's proof that you're a human being with a nervous system that was perfectly engineered for an environment that no longer exists, and you're navigating a world that is actively trying to exploit that. The first step isn't deleting your apps. The first step is understanding what you're actually looking for when you reach for your phone. Because that's where everything starts to change. If this video gave you something to think about, hit like. It genuinely helps the channel. Subscribe if you're into psychology explained the way it actually works, and drop in the comments, what's the one moment in your day when you reach for your phone without thinking? I read every single one. See you in the next one.